Hello everyone, welcome to yet another rant on the Pink Panther. This time, the son of the Pink Panther. Released in 1993 and directed by Blake Edwards. So, Son of the Pink Panther, the 127,000th and final installment of this series to be directed by Blake Edwards. What's the plot, I hear you ask? Well, the answer is, there isn't one. But you know what? I'll read off the IMDb description of what they've written down for the synopsis. You know, just to give you something. Because the movie doesn't recount the plot, so why should I? But for what it's worth, Charles Dreyfus encounters Jacques Gambrelli, who reminds him painfully of Inspector Clouseau, the man who drove him insane. With good reason. Gambrelli is Clouseau's son. Adding to that, basically, Clouseau's son goes on a mission to rescue an Indian princess who has been captured by some mercenaries. But that's basically it. What's the point anymore? What's the point of even reviewing these films anymore? They're all fucking shit! They're all fucking shit! I am sick and tired of these fucking terrible films in the Pink Panther series. Just stick with the Peter Sellers movies, for God's sake. Don't watch these films. Watch the first 4 to 5 movies. After Revenge, don't even bother. The series is shit now. Like, there is no reason for this film to exist. The only reason Edwards wanted to make this movie and curse was to keep the franchise going to make a few bucks. That was it. When you lose the key ingredient that makes these films great, you know you have a problem. What is the point of continuing this fucking franchise when the lead actor is gone? Sellers would be spinning in his grave, I assure you. The fact that they write in that Clouseau has a son is complete bollocks. I mean, where did that come from? They're literally pulling this out their arse. It's like a plot from a soap opera. You know, they literally have run out of ideas. They really do not know what they are doing anymore. Edwards is just like, well, I want to keep my franchise going. You know, I want to keep the memory alive. And yeah, well, fuck it. As for the cast, well, they're all shit, pretty much. Well, okay, the one person I do like in the cast is Robert Davi. He plays a guy called Hans Zarber. He's kind of like this evil thug, mercenary, who captures this princess. He admittedly is very wasted in the movie. He doesn't get to do very much, but his performance is probably the best in the cast. But that's not really much of a compliment. Roberto Benigni, you know, he is no Peter Sellers. He is no Peter Sellers. He basically tries to do an impression of Peter Sellers. I mean, he you know, he doesn't do a bad French accent, but at the same time, it's just not funny. All the comedy is terrible in this film. I laughed. I probably had one chuckle. Yeah, I chuckled once. That was it. The whole film is a convoluted mess. I don't understand half of what is going on in this film. It's just a load of gags that they've thrown together for no reason. This time, Herbert Lom looks bored to shit in this film. He does not want to be there anymore. And that's very clear. Herbert Lom has had enough of this franchise by this point. You can see it in his face. He is so tired of this character. You literally, you feel bad for him. I felt really horrible watching Herbert Lom in this film and thinking, my God, man, you know, you just don't want to be here anymore, do you? He's been in all of these movies up to this point. And, you know, his enthusiasm has gone right down. He really doesn't care anymore. One thing I will say about Dreyfus is, while for most of the film he's kind of in a hospital, at least in the end of the film he gets married, so there is a kind of nice bookend to his character. So if this, I mean, they probably didn't know how many more movies they were going to make, and this was indeed the last movie that Edwards made. So I guess it was nice to kind of give Dreyfus a bit of closure. I mean, considering he's the longest-serving character in this franchise, it's nice that he actually did get a wife, and he did marry in the end. And, you know, albeit his wedding scene was a bit ridiculous, at least it was kind of sweet. Ridiculous in the fact that the actual scene itself, when Clouseau's son has a sister. Like, what? You just bring her in from out of nowhere. She comes in the very end, after Dreyfus and the mother get married. The fact that he marries the mother of Clouseau's son is ridiculous. Dreyfus hated Clouseau. Why would he marry the woman who gave birth to his son? I'm surprised that Dreyfus, doesn't take the attitude that he had with Clouseau. Like, this man's an idiot and he was being driven insane. I would have half expected Dreyfus to have taken the same attitude to Clouseau and to his son. The fact that his son is kind of a carbon copy of him, you think that his son would drive Dreyfus insane as well. But no, Dreyfus is very much in support of Clouseau's son, even though he thinks Clouseau's son is an idiot. He finally realises, oh, well, Clouseau was an idiot, but he managed to get things done, and everyone said he was the greatest detective in France. No! No! Why on earth are you not reacting the same way? I'm not saying you had to go on this big story arc of having Dreyfus become insane again and become a megalomaniac like he did in the earlier films, but, the fact that he doesn't care. Like, he sends out Clouseau's son on this mission, and then he doesn't seem to have any problem with all the things that he's doing. Like, Clouseau's son is getting away with everything, and he's being a complete idiot, and he's doing everything his dad would do. Dreyfus is like, oh, you're the best man for the job, and then he's then forced to tell him to come back, but then Clouseau's son says no. But the whole thing is a mess, like character decisions that don't make sense. They have changed Dreyfus's character far too much. It's ridiculous. It doesn't make any sense. I don't get it. I do not get it. Absolutely do not get it at all. And there's no chemistry with him and Maria is actually the character's name, the mother of Clouseau's son. There's no chemistry with them. They kind of meet and they have a conversation at the beginning, and then later on they get married. Yeah, that's it. We don't even see much of Dreyfus and Maria. They're just kind of there because the film needs them. They are just there. And then he's in hospital for most of the film. Honestly, guys, this movie is a mess. It's terrible. This is bottom of the barrel really bad. As for the Princess Yasmin, played by Debrah Farentino, she's sexy. She's a gorgeous woman. She really is. There's even a part when they actually try and strip her clothes off, which is a little bit forward, I think. A little bit too far. But then again, we've had nudity in this franchise before, so it doesn't really matter too much. But I don't think there's any chemistry with her and Clouseau's son either. It's ridiculous why she falls for this idiot. In the back of the van when she's being captured, when he goes to inspect the back of the van, she's kind of all drugged up and going, oh, and then later on, he gets thrown in the same cell as her, and then they end up, having a romantic interloop, so to speak. It just doesn't make sense why she would fall for this guy. It really doesn't make sense. The king and his wife, who I think is the stepmother of the princess, the stepmother is actually cheating on the king with the general, and then we find out later that the king finds this out. He finds out that his wife has been cheating on him, and yet they don't resolve that plot. It doesn't go anywhere. I don't understand why the king didn't confront his wife about that, and it makes no sense to me. Like, clearly she was involved in the setup of her stepdaughter being captured and taken away, because the mercenaries threaten the king. They say, oh, we want you to pay us and abdicate from the throne. But he's a bit dubious about abdicating, and then he does realise that he needs to do that if he wants to keep his daughter safe. And then he says to his wife all of this, and she's like, well, I'm here if you need me. So she clearly wants the throne. So she's clearly in on this. Yet the film doesn't make an attempt to actually show the resolution of that story. So what the hell was the point? That was completely unresolved. This movie is a clutter-brained mess. It has no idea what it's doing. They are throwing everything in the kitchen sink on this screen it is completely indulgent and gratuitous by this point. The franchise is dead. It was dead long before this, but this is as low as it can possibly go. I mean, I'm kind of dreading to watch the Steve Martin movies now, thinking about it now. In terms of the rest of the cast, they're all crap. I mean, none of them are really that good. I suppose Claudia Cardinale as Maria, she's okay, and Herbert Lom is okay. The rest of them are all shit. And obviously Robert Davi, I mentioned already. Again, Debrah Farentino, okay as the princess. Jennifer Edwards as Yusa. Yusa, I think she's like this, she's the skinny ginger head woman who's the one of the mercenaries. It's nice to have a sort of female tough character in this franchise. I'll give it that, but yeah, she doesn't. I mean, by the time you get to the big shootout in the climax, which kind of reminded me a bit of the Bond movie, The Living Daylights, when there's a big shootout in Afghanistan at the end for the opium. I know this is slightly different to that, but the look of it certainly reminded me of that. The action scenes are terrible. The slapstick choreography just doesn't work for me, and the film drags on for its runtime. At least it's only 90 minutes, but it just drags on, and I couldn't get into it. It's more of the same. It is more of the same. Literally, Edwards is like scraping the script off of his arse. You know, there's literally no other ideas he has for this franchise anymore. Also, the title sequence for me was a fail. I didn't like the title sequence. I'm sorry. The animation, the sort of hand-drawn animation, and then he moves out of the screen and into this room with a band. Like, what the hell? And then the band do this a cappella arrangement of the theme. It didn't work for me. It just didn't work for me. And the rest of the titles appear in text and colours. It's just so lazy. They don't give a shit anymore. They haven't given a shit. Literally, they waited 10 years after the previous film to do another one, to have one last stab at the franchise. And no, I'm amazed that they actually greenlit the Steve Martin movies after this. I know they came quite a number of years afterwards, but yeah, I wouldn't have been surprised if they said no to the Steve Martin movies and just had this as the last one. Also, we get the return of Professor Balls for some unknown reason. He just randomly appears in the film. Kato appears as well. Kato doesn't do anything in the film. Kato is unnecessary in this film. He just comes in randomly and he's having dinner at a Chinese restaurant with the son of Clouseau, and then he opens a fortune cookie and says, "You will hire this person who is a family friend." You know, of all the conveniences, you know, why? Let's see, nothing makes sense in this movie. It doesn't have the glamour of the previous films. It doesn't have the style of the previous films. It is so fucking tired. And, you know, I've said this before, and I'll say it again, without Sellers, you may as well not have bothered, because the franchise proved that it could not carry on with a new lead man. It needed Sellers, and Sellers was the only thing that would have allowed people to go and to continue supporting this franchise. I'm not saying all the Peter Sellers movies are perfect. They're not perfect. But I like them very much. More so than the ones that come afterwards, you know. And that includes Trail, because Sellers was only used with archive footage in that film. At the end of the day, guys, Son of the Pink Panther is awful. It is another terrible movie. The direction is awful. The script is awful. The humour is done and fucking done. It is tired. Roberto Benigni, I'm sorry, he's just not funny. He's really not funny. He's no Peter Sellers. All the cast look tired. They don't look like they care anymore. This was it. This was the one that killed the series, or at least until 2006. So I have nothing else to say other than I'm not surprised it was a disappointment. I mean, yeah, I what else can I say? I'll give it this. It's probably a little bit better than Inspector Clouseau, because it wasn't as infuriating as that movie. Roberto Benigni is at least not as annoying as Alan Arkin was playing Clouseau. But yeah, this movie is a disaster. Is it worse than Curse? Well, I mean, quite possibly. It's on the same level, to be honest. I mean, that's not much of a compliment. The only thing I'll say about Curse is that it's longer than this one. So, yeah, it's about 20 minutes longer than this one, which is still annoying. I mean, both movies are shit, so it doesn't matter what I say. Both movies are shit, but Son of the Pink Panther can go and fuck itself as far as I'm concerned. Da-da-da-da, da-da, da-da-da-da, da-da, da-da, da-da-da-da. In the end, this movie fucking sucks. And I am going to rate Son of the Pink Panther. I'm going to give it a 1 out of 10. I was very tempted. I was very, very, very tempted to give it a 0, but I thought, no, that might be going a bit far, because I do like the fact that Dreyfus gets married, and I do like going to India. I think the location, the locales, and all of that are very impressive. But this film stinks. It just stinks, and it's not as infuriating as Inspector Clouseau. But that, again, don't take that as much of a compliment, because it really isn't. So, and you thought the franchise was done after this? Well, it is for Blake Edwards, and all I can say is, well, Blake, I certainly appreciate what Blake Edwards was trying to do. He was trying to make this franchise the comedic answer to James Bond. He was trying to make it long lasting, and he was trying to keep, you know, the humour as fresh as he could. But obviously, the unfortunate incident of Sellers' death just really affected this franchise, and you know, he proved another couple of times, that 2 times over, that the franchise couldn't survive without Sellers. You know, the key ingredient that made those movies great was Peter Sellers. I'm sorry, but the franchise needed him to carry on. If Sellers had lived after Revenge of the Pink Panther, then, you know, who knows how many more films we would have got, but they would have been a damn near sight better than these 2. Well, 3, I should say, if you include Trail. Trail, Curse and Son, waste of time. Don't even bother. Don't even bother with those films. They are terrible. They don't deserve to be considered canon as far as I'm concerned. Anyway, enough rambling. I'll finish up by saying, yeah, I only have 2 more films left in this franchise to review, and then I can be done with this nauseating franchise. I say that because, you know, as it's gone on, it's become far more frustrating to watch these films because of how crap they are. Again, the earlier ones are good, and some of them are great, but yeah, the recent ones have been very hard to watch. So, yes, next time on Pink Panther review, we look at the 2006 Pink Panther film, which was directed by someone else. I mean, thank God, it's a miracle. The next film is directed by Sean Levi, and actually stars Steve Martin. In his first film as Inspector Clouseau, he would get 2 movies, and then that would be the end of the franchise. And currently, there are no plans to restart the Pink Panther franchise. I think it's kind of a dead franchise. I mean, I'll get more into that when I review the Steve Martin movies. I'll talk about the end of the franchise, really, because that really is the end. But yeah, next time will be the review of the 2006 Pink Panther movie. So thank you very much for watching this review. What do you think of Son of the Pink Panther? Please comment down below, let me know. To be honest, I don't think you're going to disagree with me. I don't think many people like this film. I'd be surprised if anyone does. If anyone does, comment down below. I'd love to have a discussion. We'll get things going. But yes, stay tuned very soon. Also, when I do my rant on 50 Shades Darker, to my friend Harry Thomas, I'm sorry, man. I'm terribly sorry. It's taken me so long to get to this. But you will have your rant on 50 Shades Darker, I swear. And then I'm going to do the 3rd one as well. So, a couple more rants to come your way. Again, I don't know if the Steve Martin movies are going to be a rant, but hopefully not. But we'll see. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and stay tuned next time when I review the 2006 Pink Panther movie. So until then, see you soon. Bye for now.